Taito's back on the PC Engine, and once more they are bringing over arcade games that just wouldn't work on the Famicom. This PC Engine version loses a little something, adds a little something extra, but overall, Taito really tried hard to bring the arcade experience home. If you know the arcade version of Ninja Warriors for anything, it's that it used the same triple-wide screen setup as Darius. In fact, it was Taito's second game to do this. The game was a side-scrolling beat-em-up in the style of Spartan X, much like many beat-em-ups at this point were. And the arcade cabinet allowed for 2 players to simultaneously take on the enemies. For the home version, well, Taito couldn't give you 3 TV screens, but they did put the game into a cinema-like aspect ratio. For the gameplay area, it's using a 2.25 to 1 aspect ratio. Not quite CinemaScope, but pretty close. The plot of the game is that a few years into the future, America has fallen into a fascist dictatorship. But one man has a plan. He builds a pair of androids, dresses them up as ninja, and sends them out to take on the entire fascist army, fighting their way to the head of the government. On the title screen, you have your choice of kunoichi or ninja, or in other words, man or woman. This just changes the sprite, but the two of them perform exactly the same. Unfortunately, the 2-player simultaneous mode had to be stripped out for the console version, so you're going at this totally alone. Button 2 will swing your knives, and you can move while swinging, so you don't lose any mobility. You can even move while crouching and swinging, if you press down and right or left. You tap up to jump, though there's very, very few aerial enemies in the game, so it's something that you won't have to do particularly often. Jumping is mainly useful for getting around bosses. Button 1 will throw your shurikens, and you start with a limited supply of those. Projectiles only do about half the damage of your knives, so while it's useful for getting rid of small fries that are staying out of your reach, they're not as helpful against larger enemies. There are no pickups, no health recovery items, no power-ups, and the stages are all perfectly flat. On a few of the later stages, you might have to crawl under an obstacle, but you never have to go over anything. Ninja Warriors is about as simple as a game can get. That said, there are quite a few nice touches here. When you get hit by a big attack, part of your android skin rips away, revealing the robot underneath. And from the options menu, you've got your choice of 8 different colors for the characters. You're not limited to the original red and blue. There's also 3 difficulty settings: easy, normal, and hard. And even on easy, Ninja Warriors is brutally difficult. This is a game that likes to overwhelm you, hurling way too many things at you simultaneously from all sides. While I was playing, I couldn't get past the mid-boss of Stage 2. You only have 1 life, and 3 continues. Continuing puts you back at the start of the stage, so if you were getting worn down by the time that you reached a difficult point, you're probably still going to have the same problem the next time you try. This is a game where you're pretty much expected to memorize the stage layout, which means know where enemies are going to spawn, and then figure out the weird tricks to defeat bosses. Bosses will block most attacks, or teleport away, or do things to avoid damage, and as a result, they're often only vulnerable when they're attacking. Even on the easiest difficulty, strong attacks like gunshots will knock off about 1/5 of your health bar. And of course, those strong attacks are often the hardest to avoid. You'll get worn down super fast. And that's really all there is to the Ninja Warriors. This is a very simple game. And in Japan, the gameplay really isn't well regarded. It is, after all, just a slightly buffed up Spartan X. However, the music has a pretty big fandom behind it. That music holds a unique place in video game history. You see, shortly after the arcade game was released, Taito held a celebration for the company's 35th anniversary. And at that celebration, the Taito sound team came out and performed the soundtrack for Ninja Warriors. This is the first time that a game company had an official band. Taito's was called Zuntada, and they're still active to this day, creating new songs for Taito's rhythm games. A sequel was in development for Ninja Warriors on the PC Engine, and it was going to be a parody called Geisha Warriors. And although screenshots showed up in magazines, it was cancelled and no beta has ever been leaked. So we don't know how that would have turned out. My feelings on Ninja Warriors are complicated. It's a very simple game in a style that we've already seen done several times on the PC Engine. But it is well executed. This is the kind of thing that you can play for 15 minutes and be done. And it works fine for that. It just doesn't have a lot here to hold interest long term.